Good morning, Eric Boehlert.
Hey, good morning.
Wow, where do we start this morning? In the blizzard of law breaking. This is a new one about Jared Kushner, right? I mean, I don't know how much more clear this can be. First of all, why does he still have a security clearance? Failed to disclose his role as co-director of a Kushner Foundation at a time when the group funded an Israeli settlement considered to be illegal under international law. The latest development follows reports Friday indicting the senior White House advisor. This just goes on and on and on, right?
If this were in any way a normal presidency, like the Jared Kushner scandal would be defining the Trump presidency, right?
Right.
You know, total nepotism, has no idea what he's doing, in charge of the Middle East. He's over there now just kind of wandering around, bumping into doors and things, at some Arab summit. No one has any idea what he thinks or what he's doing. He's creating even more havoc for the State Department because there's a White House strategy for the Middle East, however laughable that is, versus the shell of the State Department actually has a strategy for the Middle East. You know, the clearance, you mentioned the settlements. If this had been an Obama administration, a Clinton administration, anyone who had someone like a Jared Kushner, it would be like the biggest story ever. And this is just, this is like number 38 or 39.
Yeah.
Because, the corruption just piles up so high.
I think the Senator Feinstein said it best about even the Flynn thing. This shows a Trump associate negotiating with the Russians against U.S. policy and interests before Donald Trump took office and after it was announced that Russia had interfered in our election. I mean, that's pretty easy to understand. And once again, it seems like we're only at the beginning of the indictments.
Yeah, poor Sarah Sanders, who got up a couple weeks ago and said this whole thing's coming to an end, right? It should be wrapping up by
Thanksgiving.
And I think that's what his attorneys were telling him. I mean, they're as sycophantic as everybody else. Don't worry, we're all going to be fine. But boy, it just, A, over the weekend, and B, this morning, I mean, it is all just unraveling as usual. Trump is lashing out at the FBI. This morning he says, the FBI is ruining Michael Flynn's life. This is a guy who has pleaded guilty to a felony.
Right. And with the crooked Hillary again this morning.
Oh yeah. Right. She lied. She should be in jail. Kellyanne Conway was on Fox this morning talking about the Clinton Foundation.
Oh my God. Am I missing something?
And
James Comey, no friend of Hillary, said clearly she did not lie to the FBI. I don't even know what he's talking about anymore in his tweets. Do you?
No, nobody does. But they've created this impression for their hardcore 20% that Hillary, deleted 30,000 emails. That was obstruction of justice. They smashed her phones. They lied to the. They've created whatever illusion they want, whatever fantasy. They're just kind of adding details and chapters now. And it's just classic, Putin whataboutism. We've talked about it before. Anytime, the White House not only is under indictment, but now we're getting guilty pleas.
Right.
Why isn't Hillary? It's
so
ridiculous.
Let me
but
for the lay people. Eric and I will break down what this tweet is. So he tweeted, "This is Saturday night. So General Flynn lies to the FBI and his life is destroyed while crooked Hillary Clinton on that now famous FBI holiday interrogation with no swearing in and no recording lies many times. Nothing happens to her. Rigged system or just a double stand?" Okay, so Eric. Clinton was voluntarily interviewed for more than 3 hours at FBI headquarters. She was not in custody during her interview, so in accordance with standard FBI and Justice Department protocol, her interview would not have been recorded. A Justice Department policy on recorded interrogation applies to individuals who've been arrested or are in custody. And then, as I said further, Comey has said she did not lie. I mean, so it's just his.
Right.
You have to even research what his tweets are even referring to.
Everything you just said there doesn't fit on a kid's menu, so he's never going to read it.
No one's ever going to know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if we want to go back and rehash the awfulness of the Comey investigation, bringing Hillary in was essentially to tie up loose ends. And what was it? It was a way to show the Republicans were being serious about this. There was no reason to bring her in. That investigation showed absolutely nothing.
Right.
But and here's the irony. Okay, we're going to bring Hillary in. We're going to show everyone we're being serious. We don't have to. She's not under oath or anything like that. And so what does Trump do? A year later, he turns around, takes this goodwill gesture that the FBI did for the Republicans to show that they were being serious, and now turns it against them and tries to present it as the FBI, is now he's openly attacking the FBI over the weekend, saying the reputation is in shatters and things like this.
Right, but the whole reason for firing Comey, as laid out in Rosenstein's memo, is that he was unfair to Hillary.
Right.
Right.
I totally forgot about that.
Angry dad lashes out again.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. What happened to the spin that he couldn't sleep at night because Comey was not fair to Hillary?
Yeah, which by any objective standard, he was not. That's what Giuliani said. It's Trump land at the FBI. That clearly that's why Comey was pressured to act the way he did so unfairly to Hillary. I mean, it's just to try to turn this around now and say they were too easy on her is just it's insanity.
It could just be short-term memory.
Yeah, that could be.
It could.
Did you hear Joe Scarborough said that on Friday, that he's heard from several people he has early onset.
The fact that I am agreeing with Joe Scarborough on anything.
I know, right?
I'm like, he unblocked me, which was like, okay.
Yes. Eric, it's hard to say. I mean, but obviously a lot of top Republicans are openly speculating about his mental health, among other things.
Oh, well, look, this was completely buried, but, there was that New York Times piece late last week about Trump is telling people the Access Hollywood tape isn't real.
Right.
If you go way deep into that piece, he told a Republican senator that in January. Oh, I don't think this is real, and urged the Republicans in the Senate to investigate the Access Hollywood tape, i.e., whoever that one senator is. We've known lots of senators have had bizarre interactions with Trump.
Yeah.
But imagine being that one senator leaving a meeting with Trump where he just asked you to investigate a tape to see if it was doctored to create his voice 10 years ago, and you then support this guy for the next.
Eric, I remember that line, and the thing that honestly got to me the most is it said he chuckled as he remembered. And it's like, you know what? This isn't funny.
Yeah.
That the president's a lunatic.
They all know he's a lunatic, and they're all voting for his tax schemes, and they're all voting for his judges, and they all vote 92%, and they know he's insane. So, yeah, absolutely. But we haven't even talked about this morning where the Trump lawyers telling reporters, even if Trump obstructs justice, it's not a big deal because he's the commander-in-chief, so he can obstruct justice. I mean, that's literally the defense now, which tells everyone they see obstruction of justice charges over the horizon in 2018.
When the president does it, it's not illegal, said Nixon.
Right, and also, what is it? Jay Sekulow, what's his name? The other Trump lawyer said collusion's not a crime. So now they're admitting to collusion, but saying it's not a crime.
So look, they see collusion and they see obstruction of justice charges in 2018, and so now what their legal team is desperately trying to do, is keep this in Congress. If this is just Congress, unlike Nixon, there will not be ethical Republicans who sort of address the facts and go to the White House and say, you know what, your time is up. The Trump White House understands that they have a firewall, particularly in the House, which is staffed by these these Republican lunatics. So what they're trying to do is say, legally, you can't charge anyone with collusion. Legally, you can't charge with obstruction of justice. You need, usually in criminal cases, there's an obstruction charge, and then there's a more serious bribery charge, destroying documents, et cetera, et cetera. But again, they understand if it's a legal case, they think there's enough firewall. They want it to be a political case. Give it to the House. We'll trash the FBI. We'll trash Hillary Clinton, and we'll create this whataboutism circus.
Yeah.
So that's what they're trying to do. They understand these charges are coming. They want to make it a political circus, and hope that legally they have enough wiggle room to keep them out.
As Malcolm Nance always reminds us, though, Eric, it's actually conspiracy is the word. It's not collusion, the actual crime. But at any rate, you and I always talk about the way the media covers this, which is part of the reason how we're where we are now.
Yeah.
But you said, the GOP has completely rolled the press on the tax plan. Perfect example. I think it was even CNN said, "Oh well, Democrats say it's going to add $1 trillion or whatever to the deficit." It's not Democrats say it's going to add $1.5 trillion to the deficit. It's nonpartisan analysis, right?
It's anyone with a calculator,
right?
And look, this has been the biggest failing of the D.C. press for the last 10 years is that, and it started under Obama, and this complete refusal to document clearly how radical the Republican Party has come. And now, it's a frog in boiling water. We're passing a once-in-a-generation tax bill that's also a drilling bill, that's also an abortion bill, that's also a you-name-it bill,
Right.
without any hearings, without any public testimony. They're scribbling instructions in the column of the bill 3 hours before it's voted on, and really only probably Thursday night, Friday morning were we seeing front page pieces, major pieces on TV about, oh, this is a weird process.
Yeah.
Oh, this isn't normally how it's done. Oh, this is going to completely gut Medicare and Social Security in 10 years.
Well,
this is going to transform the American way of life for a Where were these stories?
This is what, well, you wrote this on Share Blue. It sets America on a path toward massive cuts to Social Security and Medicare in order to pay for the lopsided giveaways to the wealthiest among us. Our Michael Hiltzik out here in the LA Times, you quote, is saying the only thing that's new here is the explicit admission by a Republican office holder this is the GOP's master plan to eviscerate the welfare and retirement of American workers.
So the press completely missed this story. So the people say, well, why did they lose a couple senators on health care, and why did they keep everyone on the tax bill? Because it's not a tax bill. It's a Social Security bill. It's a Medicare bill. It's a drilling bill. It's an abortion bill. It's a college education bill. It's every radical plan they ever wanted in one piece of legislation that they knew there would be no public debate, there would be no hearings, and there would be no testimony. So this is everything they've ever wanted in a bill that would be passed without public debate. That's why they didn't lose anybody. I guess Corker might vote no, but that's why it wasn't just a health care bill, which is why they lost a few folks. This is everything they've always wanted, and knowing they can get it basically under the cloak of secrecy.
Real quick before we go,
completely missed that story.
Yep, and on one more tweet of yours on the mainstream media question, you said, as I noted in the wake of Brian Ross getting suspended from ABC after getting a Trump story wrong, in 20-plus years, nobody's ever been suspended for getting a Clinton story wrong, which they've done a zillion times, right?
A Clinton story or an Obama story. Look, Jonathan Karl, ABC News, this is very apples to apples. He wrote during this Benghazi witch hunt, he wrote an incredibly inflammatory anti-Obama, anti-Hillary story. He was fed bogus information by a Republican source on the Hill about some emails. People may or may not remember. I mean, it was a few years ago.
Yeah.
He got the story completely wrong. It took him weeks to apologize. He wasn't suspended. So why is Brian Ross suspended 4 weeks for being misled by a source about information about Trump? Why is there this massive double standing and double standard? And people wonder why Trump, gets different press coverage. If you work at ABC News, what is the message?
Yeah.
You get a Trump
and by the
story,
way, this does
you
not...
ain't getting paid for a month if you get a Trump story wrong. What do you think that does to the newsroom?
And by the way, it's one detail that does not make the whole Trump-Russia story any less hugely...
Look, he got it wrong. He should, they should... I'm not supporting, inaccurate information.
Right.
But my God, during Whitewater, if every ABC News report, literally ABC News and the New York Times were the two biggest offenders in terms of creating the Whitewater story. They would not have had a D.C. bureau if they suspended everyone for 40 days,
Eric,
for 4 weeks who got stuff wrong.
Yep, absolutely. We're way long because you're mommy's favorite. Okay, see you next week. There he goes. Eric Boehlert, Share Blue.